Hey, what's up, and welcome back to Ripe Reviews. Today we're talking about Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, directed by James Gunn from 2023. I'm Joel Escola.
And I'm Sean O'Rourke.
I can't believe it, man. Here we are. We're at the end of the James Gunn Guardians trilogy.
9 years, Joe.
It's fucking crazy.
Almost a decade.
It's crazy. Let me get this out of the way before we start this episode, because we wanted to do Guardians, and this is not our usual fare.
I mean,
right?
we've talked about Marvel on and off many times on the show, but we don't typically actually cover it as an episode.
Yeah, we would,
if ever, other than the Punisher.
It's not usually our,
those kind of films, sure,
and the Fantastic Four,
yeah,
from 1994,
right? The forgotten film,
the forgotten
hidden
films,
movie,
the hidden gems. But this isn't really our sauce.
No.
We don't really usually cover the new Marvel movies, and we're probably never going to do it again.
It'd have to be special. I could think of maybe one or two things that pop in the back of my head, but yeah, going forward, it's got to be something super special.
It's super special, like a Spider-Man that blows me away or something like that.
Or blows you possibly away.
They're all sucking each other.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, maybe that's one thing when it comes out. Maybe that's one that might maybe get on our radar. But yeah, you're right. Generally speaking, this is not our cup of tea for movie dumpster.
Depending on how it comes out because of the lineage of Swamp Thing.
The point is superheroes.
Big, giant, blockbuster Disney movies.
The MCU, not to be confused with the MDU.
Which is a very different thing.
Again, we don't really cover this stuff, but we talked about it at the point where we named a thing after fucking MCU.
Yes.
So anyway.
We stole it from Disney.
We made it better.
Arguably, yeah.
In some respects.
Yeah. But yeah, so I guess let's start at the beginning of this journey. James Gunn has been an inspiration to me for as long as I can remember.
Starting the Trauma days.
In the Trauma days, he was working for Trauma. He wrote Terror Firmer. And I believe he wrote one other, Tromeo and Juliet.
Yes. Which I think he did direct that also.
I think he I don't know if he did.
No, he's involved with it regardless.
I think Lloyd directed that,
okay.
But it was written
by.
Definitely written by him. Yeah, James coming up from Trauma and breaking out, even just writing for Hollywood. Like, he wrote the Dawn of the Dead remake.
Right.
I remember when Slither dropped, and I was like, holy shit. From that day, I was like, this guy who came from Trauma now has like a full-blown
budget
B movie that hits all the fucking notes.
Wow.
He made a movie that I wanted to make.
Well, yeah, 100%.
Right?
It's a great movie.
That's like a dream movie that I would want to make. There's space. It's kind of like Night of the Creeps, arguably. Some people compare it to that. It kind of is, but like, it's its own thing, and I think it's great. I think it's awesome. And like, the fact that he came from Trauma, worked his way up, and then was able to do a feature-length film like that and have it be released with all these heavy hitters in it, and to come out in the theaters is huge. It's not just a B movie. It's not just something that's going to get dumped to video or VOD. The motherfucker was in theaters. It was a huge movie. It was. I don't know if it was a success for him, but I mean,
I remember at the time when it came out, it was like pretty well thought of, especially in the horror community.
I absolutely blew my mind. I thought it was fantastic. It's really, really good. And if you have not seen Slither, what are you doing? Not that fucking.
It's on just about everything.
Yeah, there's some other movie I think called Slither, but it's not that one.
Michael Rooker's in it.
Michael Rooker's in it. James Gunn directed and written. Nathan Fillion and what's the
God, he was in that.
The Elizabeth Banks.
Yeah.
So check it out if you have not. If you are familiar with it, it's so good, and you would agree. So it's very inspirational to me because here is a director who's, I would say, is my contemporary. Right?
I mean,
he's not that much older than us.
I mean, he's a little older, but yeah, I think
he's like 40 something.
He's definitely like, when you think about like your favorite directors, he's one that comes to mind as far as like modern, like just like contemporary directors. Like, I mean, for me personally, it's probably between him and Edgar Wright.
Edgar Wright's great too.
And that's not to take away from any from the past, but I'm saying people that today are making like these kind of films that I every movie I'm like, this is a banger. Like, and that's why I talk about him and Edgar Wright specifically, because I haven't seen a bad Edgar Wright movie. Even the ones that were decent were still really good. And I haven't seen a bad James Gunn. Same rules apply.
Yeah. Well,
and that's they're movies that are made for people like us.
Yeah.
The dumpster dwellers.
Yes.
People that are into these kind of things that fucking, let's be honest, 15 years ago, you would have been made fun of for liking the shit, and now everyone and their mothers are fucking going out to see it. Not that really matters, but that's just kind of funny to me.
I did. I was that kid. You know what I mean? A lot of us were those kids, on the outskirts of what was popular and shit like that. Mm-hmm. The sci-fi geeks and the Star Wars guys and the B movies and the horror movie guys. And
which everything you're saying, and I don't want to like pull the words literally out of your mouth, but like all of those things you just said are guardians of the fucking galaxy.
Yeah. But to your point, when I think of inspirational people, just for me particularly, like in terms of filmmaking and filmmakers, Sam Raimi.
Oh, yeah.
Peter Jackson.
Well, sure.
Yeah. Those
Ramis. Harold Ramis.
Yeah, but specifically Peter Jackson and Sam Raimi, because
they
came from nothing. No, they came from
I see
nothing.
what you're saying. Yeah.
They were fucking kids in their backyard who made rigs and
Peter Jackson especially just blows my mind, all the shit he did.
Learned how to do all this stuff, and that's kind of like the path that I set myself on.
Okay.
Where it was like learn how to work the camera, learn how to do special effects, and do all. I mean, I loved it anyway, but those guys were super inspirational to me. But like we were just saying, James Gunn was the contemporary version of that, because clearly Peter Jackson and Sam Raimi are much older than I am, so it was like, I mean, for all intents and purposes, James was a young kid when he was doing Slither, that was Jesus Christ, how many fucking years ago?
Early 2000s?
It's early 2000s. It's more than 20 years ago.
It's crazy to think about.
Think about that.
I mean, Guardians 1, 2014. Like I said, almost 10 years ago.
Yeah, that too. And it's like, so that moves me into my next thing, and how Guardians of the Galaxy is very special to me and me and my wife specifically. I had met Julie a little bit before I think this was announced. We were working at this company making just doing bullshit work.
I mean, at the end of the day, that's what it turned into.
That's what it turned into. Yeah, but I remember when this was announced and dropped, and I was so fucking psyched. I was like, holy shit, they're gonna make a Guardians of the Galaxy movie, and I'm a big fan of the comics.
Sure, yeah, I was gonna say, because I feel like I've talked about this before. Like, I like Marvel, and I'm a huge Spider-Man guy, but beyond that, I'm more of a DC guy. So I'm familiar with the Infinity War and the Gauntlet and Secret Wars and all that stuff, because I've dabbled many times. Yeah. But you are way more into the Marvel comics than me.
Sure. And that's always been a thing. You're the DC guy.
Yeah, I mean, again, like both, but more DC. So it's like, I like to hear your perspective, because like you just said, you were into this shit before the movie was even a thing. It was a thought, and you were like, oh, I already read all this.
I read most of it, because I was all like, I also read a lot of the 70s stuff and the 80s stuff. So like,
that's probably the most
this particular team wasn't together.
It was the team that may appear in this film at some point, maybe.
Kind of.
But the point is, it was the original group.
Yes. All the way up to like Pip the Troll and Gamora being in it, and Adam Warlock. But this movie was super special. It just
Guardians 3, or you said just Guardians in general?
Guardians of the Galaxy, the first one. Like, so much so I was so excited for this that my wife, then girlfriend, went to a special like advanced screening of like a preview for it.
Oh, wow.
Like, we were so excited for it. And then when we finally saw the movie in theaters, it just fucking blew me away. It was, again, like I said, Slither was a movie that, like, if I made a sci-fi superhero movie, this would be the movie. And the hallmarks of James Gunn and what he did for this movie, what he did for Marvel Studios and Disney in general,
superhero films,
fucking incredible. They didn't think this was going to be the hit it was. And
which is shocking to me, because, like, I mean, say what you will about Joss Whedon. I mean, a lot of that came out after the fact, but like, there was elements of that in Avengers. I know that came after this, or I forget the timeline. Maybe they were right on top of each other.
Avengers was before this.
Okay.
Yeah.
I guess I take that back a little.
Phase 2, I think this is.
I guess my point being, there was that, why people refer to it now, the Marvel comedy, the Marvel talk. Like, that was kind of there in Avengers, but it wasn't like as prominent or well paced. What's the timing wasn't 100%
the comedic timing.
James Gunn gets it. His actors get it.
Yeah.
The people working on these films get it. And again, just to finish that thought, then Marvel kind of was like, okay, we were kind of there in Avengers, but then Gunn took the idea and ran with it, and let's just lean into it heavy duty. Diminishing returns now in 2023. But generally speaking, I feel like it pushed, again, for better or worse, that's debatable.
Yeah.
The feel of these films in general, with the comedy, the action, the way they were edited. It was super influential on superhero films. Like, probably the most influential since Iron Man, which to be fair wasn't that long before that. But before Iron Man was a Spider-Man and then Batman before that.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know. Kind of a weird timeline I'm jumping to, but I'm just saying it just did so much for the genre as a whole.
Guardians changed the game again.
Right.
And the reason it changed the game is because you have this young director who's so deep rooted in B movies and 80s stuff and that style of filmmaking and just his sense of humor.
And he's a comics guy too.
Yeah, and he's a huge comics guy and he just cares about what he's doing. And like this, the Guardians movie has and always will have the most heart out of any of the Marvel movies ever. Okay, Guardians 1, 2, and 3 will stand the test of time as far as I'm concerned as isolated cases in the Marvel pantheon. And again, we talked about this before, but there is never going to be as good a movies as Infinity War Part 1 and 2. You know what I mean?
Yeah, we were talking about that before we started filming, but yeah, I mean, because I rewatched Guardians 1, Guardians 2, then you got to watch Infinity War and Endgame. I mean, I guess you really want to go the gamut. There's many more films you could have watched, but then you go to 3. Yeah. Because, like, I guess that before, I mean, we're not talking about 3 yet, but that would be my only nitpick. But it's like a nitpick of the entire MCU is that, like, yeah, there's some information you need from Endgame or else you're going to be a little confused. But, like, if you didn't, I guess, like, let us know in the comments if that really actually hurt your enjoyment of the film.
Yeah.
But it's the third in a series, so I don't even care. You're expecting shit to be connected to other things. That's what I'm saying. It's a literal nitpick.
Oh, sure. But I think these 3 movies can be enjoyed individually.
I agree.
As well. Well, I think you'll get the most enjoyment, like you said.
That's a better way to put it.
If you've seen all 3, specifically the Guardians movies.
Plus at least those last 2 Avengers films.
Yeah, just to find out, like,
because the Guardians are so heavily involved in the plot of both of those films.
Yes, and
especially Rocket and Gamora.
Yeah, and what happened? Yeah, right, exactly. I remember going to see Guardians of the Galaxy, the first one, in the theater, and being like blown away by like the whole intro, and then
Redbone,
and then fucking Chris Pratt comes out and his Star-Lord get up and pops his fucking Walkman on, and Redbone kicks up, and it's just like, this is so like you can't help but just your face just lights up and you're like, this is it sets the whole tone for the movie.
It's a great origin story too, because like you don't feel like you're stuck in the origin part for too long.
No, like
everything's kind of moving.
No, it gets to the point, and it's very comic booky in terms of like how it's structured and how it all plays out and stuff, and it's all very good. And like they are the group that you want to hang out with, and seeing them go from the first movie and how they kind of bond towards the end of that and how they've evolved throughout the series of other Marvel movies and then getting to volume 3, man, I cried during every one of these movies.
Oh, wow. I was going to say, I definitely cried in the second one. Teared up in the first one. That opening gets me every time with his mother.
Oh my God. What about the end?
Oh, I'm trying to remember
when he's holding hands.
Oh,
or take my hand, Peter.
That's a great part. It doesn't really get me teared up.
Oh,
but
man.
Definitely the Yondu stuff in 2. The waterworks, heavy duty, Mary Poppins, y'all.
Yeah.
I mean,
he may be your father, but he ain't your daddy.
It's just so good. And then 3, I feel like the waterworks turned off just long enough to be wiped away, and then they fucking went back on. I cried 6 fucking times during that movie, man.
I fucking cried and
I'm not a big crier.
As soon as the credits came up for the
you were
the
thinking
movie,
about it already.
Well, they're playing. You want to get into it?
Yeah, let's get into it.
Okay, well, first of all,
yes,
we loved Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3.
Right.
It was fucking awesome. It should still be in theaters. Go see it. We highly recommend watching the first and second movies before you go.
I would recommend, if you got the time, watch the Infinity War and Endgame. But if you don't, sure.
And the Christmas special,
or at least read the Wikipedia.
Yeah,
or like me.
Catch yourself up so you know exactly what's going on. But to get the full breadth of the characters' interactions between each other, you got to watch 1, 2, and 3.
Agreed.
Or 1, 2, and then go see
3. Yeah.
But I think we front loaded this enough. There's really no real way to talk about it without going into spoilers. So if you have not seen it, tune out come back. We'll be here, and you can jump on back in. But if you have seen it, here we go. It's the spoiler portion of the show.
Or again, if you just like spoilers,
or
crack open your fucking beer and get ready.
Yeah.
I don't necessarily want to go hyper in order here. I want to kind of point out specific things. Yeah. But I love how just right off the bat, like each movie has that opening credits with music. You know, like you said, Star-Lord in the first one dancing.
Yeah.
Second one, they're fighting the monster. Groot's fucking jamming out.
Oh, yeah. You got fucking ELO in the beginning of the other one.
Yeah.
And then this one is such, with that somber, they have Radiohead's Creep.
Yeah, with Rocket now.
With Rocket, and I'm already like, oh, here it comes.
They do an amazing job, and it's really subtle.
Yeah.
But they go for the first two movies. And again, this is kind of an X-Men thing to some extent where everyone's a main character, but there's really like a couple that are like your leads. Like Peter's obviously the lead, but they're all the main characters, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Whereas this one, they do this thing where even from the intro, not the I mean, I guess you could argue, well, then does that make Groot the main character in 2? No, I see my error in my explanation.
No, but I see what you're saying. They each get a spotlight.
Right. But
they each have a purpose and importance.
Agreed. I guess just before this point fizzles out, I like how they subtly make it that Peter is no longer the hero. And he still is a hero. But by the end of the film, Rocket has become the main character.
At the end of
the film.
Of Volume 3, yeah.
Not to say that takes anything away from Star-Lord. He is still the lead. I mean, again, it's all of them, but I feel like Peter's the one they always focus on.
Well, you jumped right to the end, so...
I mean, I didn't say, like, why that is.
No,
but there's a reason why that is, and I really like that.
No,
because Rocket... I would say the main three that they focus on story-wise are Rocket, Peter, and Gamora, and everybody else is amazing. I love Mantis, I love Drax, I love Groot, and Kraglin and Cosmo are great.
And Nebula, too.
And oh, God, wow, fuck. Now that I'm saying, I love Nebula so much.
They're all great.
But I guess, like, those are the three I think of when I think of those are the story-focused characters.
Right.
But you're right. Nebula, as far as Endgame and Infinity War is concerned, that changes my whole argument.
Exactly.
But I don't know what I'm trying to say here.
It's great.
I think you get what I'm trying to say.
Before you get too far out, the end, I like the end because just Guardians in general, like, it deals with very personal themes.
Big time, especially this
and
movie.
It makes you, it's very like kind of reflective or self-reflective rather, or things that we all go through and how these characters deal with it. And Rocket specifically with being an outcast, being a freak, not being accepted from day one, being literally made into a monster and having to deal with the fallout of that and being a quote unquote insignificant nothing, a mistake. You know,
which he brings up constantly.
That's a huge theme, but that's such a powerful thread
from the first movie he was talking about. It.
Yeah, ain't nothing like me except me.
Yeah,
and he's not a fucking raccoon. That's the whole thing. Like that's the whole gag.
That's a great moment in this movie.
I know,
that.
And he's like, I'm not a raccoon. What's a raccoon?
Yeah,
or whatever. Trash panda.
But you were saying this a little earlier before we get more into the meat of this film. Each movie could be on its own. Because each one they do feel like they work together, obviously, because it's a series, a franchise. But they each have their own tone.
The first one deals with loss and finding your purpose or finding love in other people. Right. The second one is being accepted by somebody with Quill's father. Yeah. You know, he never knew his father, and he wanted to be accepted by him.
And there's also the element of I don't know how to explain this in a short term, but like the idea of like when him and Rocket are arguing, like kind of thing, like friends argue, but like that doesn't mean you gotta just say fuck off. Like you gotta work it out.
You work it out, but in the last movie is about finding your place and what your purpose is, and that's huge. Huge. I mean, that's something I think about every fucking day of my life, and most of us do.
Definitely on some level, and it's. I like how each character, like you were kind of saying, has their own arc. You know, throughout the whole series, but especially in this film. Mm-hmm. Now, Rocket's arc is kind of what sets everybody else going.
Yeah,
because it's very smart because the way Gunn does this.
He sits out most of the movie
right
while we get exposition dump.
And again, we're in spoilers.
Yeah.
Gamora's fucking dead, but we have the Gamora from the future, from the end of Endgame, but we don't, like, Endgame leaves it really ambiguous whether she's alive or not. Like, Peter's looking on that viewfinder or whatever and says, oh, well, she's out there.
It's not Peter's Gamora. It's just Gamora.
Right. Which is a focal point to his relationship, his storyline in this film.
And his trajectory of...
Because the whole movie...
Grieving and loss.
He's grieving the whole film. And I love this about this character. Because Star-Lord's a character I like a lot. But I went into this film like, okay, how are they going to handle this? Is it going to be the story of them getting back together? Do they find love again? is that, do they just assume they're back together? Like, where is Gunn gonna go with this?
Yeah.
And it's kind of interesting, before I continue on with that, like in interviews, how Gunn's talked about this, because people have asked him, like, well, you had other filmmakers take your characters and do their thing, and they fucking mucked it up, so how did you fix it? And he said, well, no, like, in reality, at the end of Guardians 2, I was gonna kill Gamora. I was gonna have her do the sacrifice and not be Yondu. But then from a story sense and like rethinking it, and after Marvel said they want to do this other thing with the character.
It's way more impactful
he even says that in interviews. Yeah. So it's this thing where it's
or
like
Infinity War, which one it is.
So with that said, I do still wonder what the version of that movie would have been before Gunn was like removed due to internet trolls and then did the Suicide Squad and then was brought back on, like what the version of the movie would have been without all that in between. But it's kind of interesting to me to see like, oh, they fucked it up, and James Gunn's like, no, actually, like I just pivoted a little and it actually worked out better. And it was kind of interesting with the Gamora stuff specifically. I guess that's what I was talking about. Yeah. Because you're like, okay, well, Quill's really depressed because she's dead, but then he finds that, oh well, this other version exists, but she fucking hates his gut. She's basically Nebula from the first movie. There's like that role reversal too. I liked a lot.
She doesn't know him, and she doesn't have the experiences with him. They didn't go through all that growth as a couple or as a team or as friends. And I really like the fact that there is no, they don't like fall in love at the end, but there is this appreciation for each other that I really like. And it's kind of like, you know, I know you're not my Gamora, and I have to get over that.
It takes them the whole movie to get there.
Yeah, it's really powerful though, but she also appreciates who Quill is and what he does and what he stands for.
Because she kind of, even in the first movie, she does a little bit of this, so it made sense for the character where she's like, I would never sleep with you, but by the end, they're yucking it up a little. She's at least butting elbows with them, like, okay, yeah, like my place is with the Ravagers, because that's what this version is. She works well under Stallone.
Yeah.
But like, okay, maybe. I could see it. Like before she was like, fuck you, this is impossible, this could have never happened. Now she's like, not now, but maybe I could see it happening.
Sure.
We'll see you later, for reasons. But yeah, I like that a lot. Like if they just were like, no, they fell back in love, I would have been like, that just felt very manufactured. It's just like, no, Peter's like, damn, this fucking sucks. I couldn't fix this, but I'm like looking at the reality of it and accepting it. But you just watch the movie and you could see it in like Chris Pratt is kind of an underrated actor because of,
I agree,
for multiple reasons, but this in particular, you can just see it in his face, man. And like he's powering through it. Like I guess I didn't say it, but like, Rocket gets really hurt, and that's how we kind of get kicked off to try to heal him.
Right.
But in the process, he's just powering through because he wants to save
his friend,
his best friend.
Yes.
Which is
second best friend.
Well, yeah, Drax. But again, like I don't want to keep saying the through line, but it just shows like the fucking character building throughout these films and the relationships, how at first like they kind of just, they were working together, but they were like, they didn't really like each other. In the second film, they have the blowout, and then they come back, and now they're like, we're best fucking
tighter
friends
than ever. But that's what's so great about,
I agree.
But that's what's so great about Gunn's writing, and it's just real, and I give a fuck about these characters. And like you said, like just as an example, like if they had Quill and Gamora just get back together and love each other at the end, that would have been shitty.
Weird.
That would have been fucking weird and forced and dumb. And the way they handled it is great. And
I mean, I don't want to focus on that for too long.
No, but that's for all the fantastic shit and unbelievable things that happen in this movie, all of the interactions between the characters and emotions are believable and relatable and powerful. Adam Warlock is in this movie.
Yes, I was going to say, he's the one that sets everything off.
I was very...
How did you feel about his portrayal?
Okay, I was very interested to see how they handled Adam Warlock.
He's obviously not coming in to stop the Infinity War this time.
Well, right. It's so far removed from what he is in the comics.
Yeah.
Like, so far removed.
Okay.
Like, he is one of the... Him and Silver Surfer stop Thanos.
Okay.
In Infinity
This he's more like to follow up the plot line from 2 with the gold people, whatever the fuck they're called.
Right. And in Infinity War, the comic book, he like heads the charge of the Avengers when he's split in half, and there's like a dark Atom and a
that
a
I do
Atom.
Remember. Okay.
It's good stuff. And then there's like the Infinity Watch. It's like a whole thing.
Okay.
Anyway, I thought it was a little jarring at first, but I was totally into it. Like, I didn't know where they were going with the character at first.
Oh, they fuck with you at first. They want you to be confused.
They fuck you big time. And
you're like, what is happening? I'm liking it, but what is happening?
Dude, right in the beginning, fucking Adam Warlock blows, he's flying through space, and you're like, oh my God, what's going to happen? And then you have to watch Guardians too, and you remember that, Chickadee like makes Adam to go take revenge on the Guardians. He blows through the wall and fucking destroys Rocket like through the wall, and this
he's aiming for the music. He hears the music from the Zune, and I guess he's assuming it's Star-Lord, so he just fucking, like you said, like 100 miles an hour.
Dude, Jesus Christ. I was like, the whole time I was like, oh my God, they're gonna die. He's gonna kill this guy. And there's it's just great. It's a great fight sequence. And anyway, Rocket gets a deadly blow. And then that kind of sets off the chain of events for the movie, which was a very good way to do that. Because when he comes back later, it's like...
Well, and again, you're getting Quill off his ass. Yeah. You're getting everyone working together.
He has to sober up to help his friend, or else... Because he's a drunk now.
Yeah, because I like how they have a base on nowhere and everything. That's kind of cool.
It's like their planet. It's like their commune, you know?
Because I guess Kraglin took it over in the Christmas special I was reading. Mm-hmm. He's just on a side note. He's probably my favorite side character outside of the Guardians because he's just like whenever he shows up, like Sean Gunn kind of nails this part.
He's great.
Great facial expressions. He plays kind of like the Weasley guy who like really wants to do the right thing but maybe can't actually do it.
It's funny you said Weasel because he was the mocap.
I know for Weasel, yeah. But I love how he kind of picks up Yondu's mantle, and there's a really
his protege, man. It's cool.
Yeah, him and Peter.
Yeah.
There's a great moment towards the end when he's trying to figure out the whistle, and when he does, it's an incredible sequence.
I don't think
so. I like when we cut back to him, is what I'm saying.
Yeah. It's not like Rocket and Yondu level.
No,
from the second movie,
but it's cool.
But it's really good, and that coupled with Cosmo, because she's fucking great, dude.
Cosmo is this little Russian dog based on the one that unfortunately was sent into space and died.
And she has telekinesis.
Yeah, telekinesis.
And she talks through like this little thing in her neck, like in Up.
And I love Kraglin's like, you're a bad dog. And like this
never call me bad dog. I'm not bad dog.
The whole movie.
It's fucking
Please take it back. Please take it back.
They're playing poker with Howard the Duck.
And the guy from the first movie that Peter tries to sell the stone to.
Oh, yeah. The dealer.
Yeah, and they're all like, oh, give it back.
It's just because you're a bad dog.
But, of course, there's an amazing payoff at the end where he calls her a good dog and she, like, royally fucks something up.
Oh, man.
It's good.
It's really
Payoffs.
Good. Payoffs.
James Gunn is...
Set up some payoffs. Imagine.
That, yeah.
Imagine. Yeah. Good stories. Imagine.
Yeah.
You could do it. And just to your point, or just to what we're talking about, we're gushing over this stuff, but, like, the last few Marvel movies have been less than subpar.
I mean, I've kind of checked out on Marvel, to be perfectly honest.
This Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 and Spider-Man No Way Home were the only two movies I was excited for.
I thought Doctor Strange 2 was good.
Oh, Doctor Strange 2 was good too. Multiverse of Madness was good, but like
I was about to say I'm excited for Blue Beetle, but that's DC.
Sure, but I mean, like even the Marvel properties, like I think I liked Loki, I liked Hawkeye, I saw that series, and that I really loved. Hawkeye was the best one out of all of them, and like I mean, we're after Endgame. It's kind of hard. You lost a lot of steam. I get it. It's a lot of steam, and it's a lot of momentum you have to build back up again. Yeah. You know? I mean, you got to reintroduce a new villain and then hope that they don't get, have a battery against their wife. I don't know. Bitch. Somehow The Flash is still being made and coming out next month. But anyway. And that whole shit with fucking, what's-his-face, Kang. The big That's what I'm talking about. Yeah, I know, but like the big bad gets set up in fucking Quantumania, which I remember talking about on a live show, and I thought it was really good, but in retrospect, I'm thinking about it, and I'm like, it wasn't that great. But it was fun to see, and Majors was like one of the best parts of that movie, and that fucking piece of shit is now like, fuck you, man. I know. He's a good actor, but fuck yourself. Now get out of here with that shit. However, speaking of bad guys and fantastic fucking performances, can we talk about the High Evolutionary, please? Yes. Chukwudi Iwuji. I think I'm saying that right. Yeah. Now, as the High Evolutionary. High Evolutionary. Now, the first time I saw him, did you see Peacemaker yet? No. Dude. I heard it's good. But... It's great. John Cena is amazing. You got to see. If you love Suicide Squad, you're gonna love it. But he's this guy. Talk about a villain. He's a character in that show. I thought he was great. Oh, okay. But oh my goodness, as the High Evolutionary, he was fucking amazing. The performance from this guy was like next fucking level. He had so much presence. And he's only a minor, he's a major villain, but he's a minor in the grand scheme of things. Sure. He's a minor villain. I mean, they definitely made him seem more important in this. I don't know if that was a comic thing by making him create the gold people from the previous movie and stuff like that. Well, kind of make him seem more important. Well, no, all of that stuff is from the comics too. He's built civilization. I mean, and again, some corners of the galaxy consider him God. You know what I mean? Yeah. Depending. But he fell in love with Earth and loved all the stuff about Earth, like music and art. And their animals, obviously. And their animals. So he tries to make a perfect society by mutating animals and butchering them and figuring out how to make them smart or something. There's so many things. Again, this is a ripe. I don't want to go beat for beat here, but there's like 3 things you just mentioned that I want to talk about specifically in that sentence. So the first thing. I'm trying to glaze a little bit.
Me too, but it's hard.
Yeah.
The planet of animal creatures that he makes is crazy when you think about how much makake was done for that one sequence.
It felt so good.
Also, the first MCU F-bomb that just came out of nowhere.
Holy shit. I was like, what?
Trying to figure out how to open a fucking car door.
I was like, did Daniel Baldwin get in the front seat of that? Get in the fucking car!
And then Nebula gets in. I was very confused about the opening mechanism. Nebula, man, is so good.
Nebula's great. All the makeup, again, like you said, just real quick, all the makeup is just
the bat people and pig people.
The pig people, the goat people. It's great.
Yeah.
And it's mostly all practical.
And then the bad guy.
High Evolutionary.
The High Evolutionary. Is just like, yeah, you know what? You're right, Star-Lord. They are selling meth down there. We need to nuke them.
He's like, does that seem like a perfect society? He's like, yeah, you're right.
Blows them all up.
Fucking just starts blowing everything up.
One of the best like action sequences I've seen in a long time, where it's just like they're all like, holy fuck, the whole planet's blowing up around us. We need to get the fuck on that spaceship. And there's like 3 sets of characters trying to get there at once. It's like crazy.
It's so much more complicated than that, though. And
I am underselling it a little.
That's what makes it so brilliant is like Star-Lord figures out a plan
to get off
the ship
with Groot,
while Drax and Mantis and Nebula are trying to figure how to get on to save them, and they're already off.
Right. Meanwhile, Gamora, who just doesn't even want to be there,
and Gamora's driving the fucking
she's not
spaceship.
Yeah, crashing into the ground
and shit.
And Star-Lord's like, "Oh, we need to get the hell out of the way."
It's so good.
But she also like calls like Adam Warlock because she's in the route. She's like, "Pick me up." And
so we didn't really we mentioned Adam Warlock, but what he does, he's High Evolutionary's like mule, right? He's a superpowered being who's trying to like get Rocket because High Evolutionary wants Rocket because Rocket is the only only perfect experiment, and he wants Rocket's brain.
It's his brain because he shows that he
is smarter than him.
Well, right, because it's the flashback. There's a lot of flashbacks in this that are really heartstring pulling moments.
While Rocket's like laid up on the thing because he's like almost dying for half the movie. He has a failsafe on his heart that will kill him if they try to help him.
Right, and because he got hurt, that's how the High Evolutionary finds out.
Right.
But you get these really heart-touching moments with his friends Lila and
Teefs and
Floor, the rabbit and walrus, and I guess that's an otter.
No. Yeah. Lila's an otter. Yeah.
I thought he mentioned this in a previous movie, but I also played the video game, so maybe it came up in there.
I didn't play the video game.
I didn't beat it, but it was very good. Highly recommend it. But yeah, that was like, whoa, like you kind of know as an audience member where it's going, but like the brutality of it, I wasn't expecting.
Oh man, dude.
Especially like when they're like, they find out what's going to happen to them.
I know, but they're all like dreaming of getting out and going to the new society. And then like,
and they're being worked on. That's kind of like a Tusk situation or like a Toy Story, like it's a fucking, or Tetsuo, you know.
Well, they're trying to make them smarter and stuff and like make the perfect society or whatever. And like, it is just like gut wrenching. And you know,
because Rocket solves basically what has to be done to make it work. And in the process is like, well, yeah, you saved all these experiments, but you also basically doomed them.
Yeah.
And you know, the rest of the movie is now them trying to, while all these flashbacks are happening, save Rocket.
Yeah.
Well, they go to this organic planet, which is like fucking hilarious with Nathan Fillion.
Nathan Fillion's there, yeah.
With this organic suit. It looks ridiculous. And
it's great.
And they basically go in there. It's a very long scene, but it's a heist scene that goes wrong, but it works out. They get away.
It's so good. And the chick who plays Ratcatcher is Ucha.
Yeah.
Or Uta, whatever her name is. And like I love how like Chris Pratt the whole time's like trying to prove to Gamora that he's like sexy and like he still got it, and he like tries to put the moves on her or whatever.
And she's like, "Oh, she's not gonna buy that," and then she finally does, and Chris Pratt's like, "Yeah, I just was fooling you to get into the security system." And it's like, yeah, Gamora, you were right, but it worked.
And of course, like the chemistry between like Drax and Mantis.
Oh, yeah. Well, that's honestly,
Dave Bautista is fucking brilliant. Yeah. They
have okay, so
the rapport between everybody is incredible.
They are weirdly enough like I know they do a lot more in the Christmas special, which I still have to watch.
Yeah,
but
they kind of bond there.
Yeah, they were really good in 2, but this one like there's something more to that there. Like I know the second one they play with the idea like, well, do you like him? No. Do you like her? Not really. But like
she's dumb.
Yeah, well, yeah, she's dumb. She's ugly, and in this movie there's a joke. He's stupid, which. You could say, oh, well, they're retreading territory, but the joke is fucking funny, so I don't care. And it makes sense.
Yeah.
They've known each other for like 10 years as far as we know at this point. Because I think there's like a 14-year gap between 2 and fucking 3 between Endgame and everything.
Yeah.
Which, fill in the spaces. Wonder how long Thor was really honestly with them. But now I digress. So they save Rocket's life.
Yeah, via this like code they need to unlock
from the
thing from his
organic
heart.
planet.
Yeah.
And
well, from the guy's head.
Oh, right, from the guy's head. Oh my god, I forgot about that. Right, because they end up on the animal planet, and that's where they get it from.
Yeah,
right.
Right. It's great, and there's like these fucking monstrosities, War Pig, and this other like
god, played by
turtle
Judy
guy.
Greer, by the way, did the voice for War Pig.
It's fucking so good.
And again, I think I mentioned this on our Evil Dead Trap episode, but there's like a character called either Lambskin or Lambshank. It's in the credits that is like this disgusting like amalgamation with a fucking cane that James Gunn voiced. It's like, thank you.
Oh, that's when Mantis is like, I'm not looking at you because you're disgusting. You look really cool.
There was something behind you that was really scary. It wasn't you. And it like waddles by. It's funny. But yeah, so they find all these experiments, or Rocket does, because they all go in to stop the fucking High Evolutionary after Rocket's healed. And also to save Drax, Mantis, and Nebula, who have now found these fucking, the village of kids.
Yeah, the, what is it? Glip Clip? What the fuck did they say?
The Glip Glip kids that Drax apparently speaks their language.
Yub nub. Yeah.
Which also kind of a great scene where they're like talking, and because they keep like dismissing Drax's intelligence the whole time, he finally just starts talking to them, and they're like,
"Why didn't you do that before?" And he's like, "You didn't ask."
Yeah, and he's all proud of it, like, "You didn't ask me." And they're like, "Shit." But that's like, again, another element of that character. Like, you hear so much about Drax talking about his kids and his wife, and it's just like he finally like puts that on display, and like even Nebula says at the end of the movie is like, Drax, you were meant to be a father.
You weren't meant to be a destroyer. You were meant to be a father, and that was like really powerful scene. I thought
I felt the same way, but as we lead up to that, they have the big climax at the end where they all fight, and Rocket's like goes to save all the animals.
Yeah.
Kind of like Pee-wee.
Yeah. Or Ace Ventura.
Yeah. He finds a cage that's very relative to something we may have hinted at earlier, that it was very touching. Mm-hmm. But he does, of course, in the process, find the High Evolutionary. And you know that the Guardians are coming, even though they have this whole sequence where Nowhere shows up with a fucking monocle bomb.
Oh, man. I was going to say, there's so much in between there. I don't want to
like,
spoil everything.
And I'm trying to keep it kind of brief.
But
they have like the Nowhere and the fucking spaceship are on top of each other, and like Cosmo's using a telepathic
to get everybody off.
It's dude, crazy.
There is a fucking sequence in this hallway set to No Sleep Till Brooklyn. And
it's so good.
I was sitting there just like with my mouth open the whole time. I was like, it's
a single camera shot, or at least it's edited to look like
it's edited to be one camera, like one shot, but like it is just incredible. It was so awesome.
That was the best scene in the movie, just from an action and cinematic standpoint.
And just when you think it's gonna stop, it keeps going.
Yeah. But yeah, then we cut to the High Evolutionary, thinks he's gonna finally take out Rocket. Rocket's like, no, he already prepared for all this, hits a couple buttons on his control pad.
His grav boots that he's testing in the beginning, and it's like that came back in a big way.
Oh, yeah.
That's how
I actually forgot about that.
Yeah, that's how he breaks the fucking High Evolutionary's gravity thing.
Shoots him, and then, of course, the rest of the Guardians show up because, of course, to help whip this guy's ass.
They fucking ragdoll this
Drax fucking football tackles him into a wall.
Oh, they kick him across the thing. They throw him across the thing.
Nebula's got this metal armor. She always had that metal armor. This one's a little bit more like Iron Man, kind of.
Yeah, it's like nanotech. Yeah, it turns into a gun and knife, all kinds of stuff.
Fucking blows them away. It's satisfying as hell. And then they finally peel off this disgusting, like, Laffy Taffy face he has on. And it's this disgusting, like, ripped apart face because in the flashback after he kills Rocket's friends, Rocket just scratches the shit out
nuts. Of him. The whole point was them not to be violent either.
Yeah, right.
And then he pushes him to his breaking point. And that's why Rocket's the way he is.
And again, we're cutting out details. There's so many things.
I know, but it's just so good. I didn't want to leave that out.
No, I agree. But I guess there's just so many story threads that come together in a beautiful fashion at the end. And I guess before we do talk about that last scene, that we're gonna talk about a little bit, but there's a final like a moment in the movie that makes the audience gasp. At least it made me gasp. Where they're trying to jump to the ship.
Oh, man.
And the last one is Peter, of course, because he's trying to get everybody else off the fucking ship. He's trying to save the day. That's what he does. Mm-hmm. They're all jumping. The fucking thing's separated. Cosmo can't hold it anymore. It's exploding.
He goes back for the iPod.
Oh, that's what it was.
And
right.
then he grabs like this hose, this gas hose, and it like blows him into space so he
Which
can
is
like
smart.
go across. And you're like, he's gonna make it.
He does not make it. He starts, the faces freezing
Dude,
like every other movie.
He hits
when
like
in space.
he hits like a piece of shrapnel and just stops. And then
Groot, man, is like, no,
because what's poetic about it is that happens in the first movie. When he saves Gamora and he freezes over, and you're like, he'll be fine. But then his fucking face distorts, and it's like, oh,
hey, he's like, fucked.
Peter Quill's gonna die.
And then
Adam
sorry,
Warlock.
I have to. You got to spoil this one, like the Sistine fucking Chapel.
Are you gonna do it?
Wakes him up, heals him. We don't really understand his powers, but you can buy into it enough.
I think he just touched him.
Yeah.
That was the gag, and then he grabbed him and brought him back.
Because there is a little bit of a beast story with Adam. I mean, there's a lot of shit that he does that you're like, oh, that was fucked up. But by the end of the movie, like, he's almost dead, and Groot saves him, and he's like, why? And he's like,
everybody deserves a second.
Right.
I am Groot, he says.
Yeah, everyone deserves a second chance. And then he does that, and then becomes a guardian at the end.
Yeah, but that Adam Warlock arc is pretty good though.
Yeah,
because like
it made sense
because he was created by the High Evolutionary as well, and he sees the destruction happen all around him, and like he gets that pet from the Ravager guy,
Bloosh or whatever.
Blurp is his name. Yeah. And
the guy that they're like, oh, ask him some questions. Put the heat on him, and he fucking incinerates the guy. Yeah. She's like, he can't talk now.
Interrogate his friend, and he's pointing at Blurp. Anyway, he's got a decent arc. It's just weird, and I feel like if you're a fan of the comics and Adam Warlock, that might turn you off a lot.
That's not what you wanted, but yeah,
that's not what I wanted. But I'm happy with it. Like it's fine. Like he wasn't in Infinity War, so like, okay, what are you gonna do with him? Well, that's fine. He's a Guardian now. That's cool.
Which we do get that awesome post-credit scene. Definitely stay for the post-credits. There's two of them.
Both of them, yeah.
And then just to wrap it up, I this felt very One Piece-y to me, where they always have a big party at the end of every arc, a kind of cool off moment. But it was the party to celebrate the end of these incredible movies and these characters, because you have Drax and Nebula are now
who doesn't dance.
No, well, yeah, he says he doesn't, but he's getting a little jiggy towards the end there. He's smiling.
He's dancing. Yeah. Everybody's dancing.
Even
Nebula's dancing.
Nebula's dancing. Nebula and Drax are going to stay behind. They're going to train the kids, take care of them, whatever the fuck that entails.
Rocket is now the captain.
Yes.
Peter gives him the mantle.
Peter
goes home. Dude,
that is a sad moment.
Fuck, that broke me in half, man. When Peter goes to see his grandfather.
Well, because in the movie, and I want to say it came up previously, but like Rocket or someone is like, you've never visited your home? Like after 30 years? And he's like, this is my home.
He never went back.
Maybe there's a second movie.
But that's the thing, like, Peter hasn't seen his grandfather since his mother died.
He just assumes he's dead.
And like he goes back to see his grandfather, and dude, I just broke in half. I was just like, oh fuck. Like,
well, you see the pictures of his mother on the wall,
and like Dad,
and him as a young kid.
Grandpa knows exactly who it is, and like
breaks down.
Just them coming together, and like I just felt the weight of that, like him disappearing that night when Yondu took him. It's just like fuck.
Yeah,
it was heavy, dude.
We get that teaser. Star-Lord will be back,
which I guess is going to be in
Secret Wars.
Secret Invasion.
Yeah.
That they're going to do with that.
I mean, hey, if he's willing to come back, I know like Zoe Saldaña basically said you only wanted to do one and ended up doing 5 fucking movies, so she's probably not coming back.
I mean, if the cash is there, we do not care, right? Except for Neve Campbell.
She did 4 more than she thought she was going to do, so obviously, but I know she's talking about not coming back. Bautista's talked about not wanting to come back, but
he
Karen
is Drax, dude.
Yeah, but like Karen Gillan or Gillian, I'm not sure how you say that. Yeah. She said she wants to come back and do Nebula again. So Rocket. I feel like you get Bradley Cooper and Sean Gunn back if you really wanted to. But James Gunn said he's done.
My thing is, I don't want any Guardians movies that isn't James Gunn with this lineup. Like, this is the last one, that's it. If you're going to have Nebula and Rocket do shit or whatever, like, that's somebody else's problem. Sure. But, like, I just don't care.
Yeah, I mean, and like that, in the post-credits, they tease a different team, which, from what I read, is a reference to one of the first teams or...
Adam Warlock's
okay, yeah. Including even one of those little kids, which, when I looked it up, I was like, oh, that was a cool kind of nod to what character that was supposed to be. That I wasn't familiar with, but I'm sure fans were.
Yeah.
So, yeah, you're right. Like, if they ever did a 4th one... I don't even know what that would be. As much as I love Rocket and Star-Lord, I don't, maybe Mantis would come back. She's kind of left in a position where she goes off with those fucking extra-dimensional creatures.
Oh, yeah, those things they eat batteries.
Yeah.
I'm good. I'm 100% satisfied with this closing to the trilogy.
That's one other thing I did want to say that I was really satisfying is as she's leaving, the relationship with Mantis and Drax I liked a lot, because you could tell, even though there's not that relationship romantically, they became really good friends.
Like brother and sister. Yeah.
And he didn't want to leave her, but he also like respects her wishes, and like he doesn't ever actually say that, like, but he keeps like kind of saying like, no, like we'll go together.
I'll
and
come
she's
with
like,
you to protect you, but not in that way. I didn't mean it like
yeah, but I don't know. It's just I feel like I'm repeating myself a little bit. Like that camaraderie aspect is really beating home.
It's very well done, and you feel for the characters not wanting to stay together, but also needing to walk their own paths. You know what I mean? And that was the smartest. What they did for the end of this was the smartest decision they could have made.
Absolutely.
And I was so worried that James, because of all the bullshit about him leaving and like stopping production and then going to work on DC and then taking over DC, I thought that this was going to be a phoned in fucking whatever. And
thank God it wasn't.
Thank God. James was like, this is my baby. I'm doing this right. And everybody was so into it and still on board.
And his cast had his back.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I mean. That family and crew brought it all together to make one last great fucking movie. And I feel like this is going to be the last great Marvel movie for a while. I mean,
I am very curious what the Secret Wars is going to be, whatever it turns into. Again, Jonathan Majors may be out, may not.
I just can't find myself giving a shit.
It depends on the Fantastic Four, whatever that ends up being. They may get me back in, but I'm kind of with you. Bring on the DC, bring on Superman Legacy Gun.
Well, it's the age of O'Rourke, dude, because now James Gunn's doing DC, baby. So
we're getting the Green Lantern, True Detective series, basically.
Man, I hope all of your fantasies get fulfilled with that.
And honestly, even though dunking a little on Marvel here,
they had a great run.
They had a great run, and I honestly, as much as we're saying this, I do wish that they can get back to where they were. I don't know if it's possible. You've lost some of the biggest characters that you need to get back there, but I'm open to them righting the ship.
I'm gonna show up for Deadpool and Wolverine, and I'm gonna show up for Spider-Man and Fantastic Four. I think that's it. I'm good on kind of everything else.
Just
to see
surprise
what
me.
Marvel.
I mean,
Spider-Man's my fucking boy.
Like Marvel's looks okay, but like I'm just like not that into those characters. I'm like, it looks cool.
I just don't. It's not for me. I just don't care. Yeah. You know,
Disney Plus, I suppose.
It's great. It's great. Go see it. Go see it. I can't stress it enough. If you haven't seen a Marvel movie or you've been let down by the Marvel movies in the past run of Marvel movies, please go see this because it's really good and everybody put a lot of love and care into the writing, the acting, and putting it all together. The effects look. This is the best looking Marvel movie in a while. It looks fucking great. Even the CG, everything looks awesome.
Like there's stuff like, again, that organic planet is intentionally a little cheesy and a little gross, especially you got hair growing out of the ground.
I love it.
But you could buy it. It looks silly but right.
Yeah.
It's just been a really amazing ride, and I'm sad to see it end, but again, I'm excited for whatever else Marvel and James Gunn's gonna bring us, because especially James Gunn, he hasn't fucking missed yet.
No, it's a little bittersweet, but also delicious and wonderful ending to this trilogy, and again,
just like a Zarg-nut,
Zarg-nut, yeah, and it's gonna hold up. This trilogy will always hold up, so I'm very thankful for that. So yeah, if you saw Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, let us know what you thought about it in the comments, and please, no spoilers. Let's keep it clean down there until everybody gets to see it. There's no reason to be a dick about it. Some people just can't go see the movie as soon as you can, or at least give fair warning, at least, right?
Or I mean, just don't look at the comments if you haven't seen it. That's what I'm gonna suggest.
So yeah, that's it. That's Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, and we'll catch you on the next Ripe Reviews.